How did it all start? Motown was preparing to do this movie called The Wiz, and Quincy Jones happened to be the man who was doing the music. Now, I had heard of Quincy before. When I was in Indiana as a child, my father used to buy jazz albums, so I knew him as a jazz musician. So after we made this movie, we had gotten pretty close on the film too. He helped me understand certain words. He was really father-like. I called him after the movie out of complete sincerity because I'm a shy person, especially then. I used to not even look at people when they were talking to me. I'm not joking. And I said, I'm ready to do an album. Do you think, could you recommend anybody who would be interested in producing it with me or working with me? He paused and said, why don't you let me do it? I said to myself, I don't know why I didn't think of that. Probably because I was thinking that he was more of my father, kind of jazzy. So after he said that, I said, wow, that would be great. What's great about working with Quincy, he lets you do your thing. He doesn't get in the way. So the first thing I came to him with was from Off the Wall, our first album. And Rod Temperton came in the studio, and he came with this killer. He's this little German guy from Worms, Germany. He comes with this this whole melody and chorus. Rock with you. I go, wow. So when I heard that, I said, okay, I really have to work now. So every time I would present something, I would present something. And we form a little friendly competition. I love working like that. I used to read how Walt Disney used to. If they were working on Bambi or an animated show, they'd put a deer in the middle of the road and make the animals kind of compete with different styles of drawing. Whoever had the most stylized effect that Walt liked, he would pick that. They would kind of compete. It was like a friendly thing, that it was competition because it breeds higher effort. So whenever Rod would bring something, I would bring something, then he would bring something, then I would bring something else. We created this wonderful thing. So after Off the Wall, in the spring of '82, he went back in the studio to work on Thriller. After Off the Wall, we had all these #1 hits from it. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, Rock With You, Selling My Life, Working Day and Night, and we were nominated for a Grammy Award. But I just was not happy with how the whole thing happened because I wanted to do much more, present much more, put more of my soul and heart into it. Was it a transition point for you? A complete transition. Ever since I was a little boy, I would study composition. If you take an album like Nutcracker Suite, every song is a killer. Every one. So I said to myself, why can't there be a pop album where people used to do an album where you get one song and then the rest were B-sides. They call them album songs. And I would say to myself, why can't everyone be a hit song? Why can't every song be so good that people would want to buy it so you can release it as a single? So I always strive for that. That was my purpose for the next album. That was the whole idea. I worked hard for it. So the creative process, were you deliberate about that, or did it just kind of happen? No, I was pretty deliberate. Even though it all came together some kind of way, consciously, it was created in this universe. But once the right chemistry is in the room, magic has to happen. It has to. It's like putting certain elements in one hemisphere and it produces this magic in the other. It's science. And getting in there with some of the great people is just wonderful. Quincy calls me a nickname, Smelly. Smelly came from him, and Steven Spielberg calls me that too. Back then, especially then, I say a few swear words now, but especially back then, you couldn't get me to swear. So I would say, that's a smelly song. That would mean it's so great that you're engrossed in it. So he would call me Smelly. But yeah, working with Quincy was such a wonderful thing. He lets you experiment, do your thing, and he's genius enough to stay out of the way of the music. And if there's an element to be added, he'll add it. And here's these little things. Like for instance, in Billie Jean, I had come up with this piece of the bass lick and the melody and the whole composition. But in listening, he'll add a nice riff. We would work on the track and then we meet at his house, play what we worked on, and he would say, Smelly, let her talk to you. I'd go, okay. He'd say, if the song needs something, it'll tell you. Let it talk to you. I've learned to do that. The key to being a wonderful writer is not to write. You just get out of the way. Leave room for God to walk in the room. When I write something that I know is right, I get on my knees and say, thank you. Thank you, Jehovah.
When's the last time you had that feeling?
Well, recently, I'm always writing. When you know it's right, sometimes you feel like something's coming. The gestation, almost like a pregnancy or something. You get emotional and you start to feel something gestating and magic. There it is. It's an explosion of something that's so beautiful. You go, wow, there it is. That's how it works through you. It's a beautiful thing. It's a universe where you can go with those 12 notes. What I do is, when I write, I'll write a raggedy rough verse just to hear the chorus, just to hear how much I like the chorus. If it works for me that way when it's raggedy, then I know it works. If you take a song like Billie Jean, where the bass line is the prominent, dominant piece, the protagonist of the song, the main driving riff that you hear, getting the character of that riff to be just the way you want it to be, that takes a lot of time. Listen, because you're hearing 4 basses on there, doing 4 different personalities, and that's what gives a character. But it takes a lot of work.
Another big moment was the Motown 25 performance, right?
I was at the studio editing Beat It, and for some reason I happened to be at Motown Studios doing it. I had long left the company. So they were getting ready to do something with the Motown anniversary, and Barry Gordy came by and asked me if I would do the show, and I told him no. I said no because the Thriller thing, I was building and creating something I was planning to do, and he said, but it's the anniversary. So this is what I said to him. I said, I will do it, but the only way I'll do it is if you let me do one song that's not a Motown song. He said, what is it? I said, Billie Jean. He said, okay, fine. I said, you really let me do Billie Jean? He said, yeah. So I rehearsed and choreographed and dressed my brothers and picked the songs and picked the medley. But not only that, you have to work out the camera angles. I direct and edit everything I do. Every shot you see is my shot. Let me tell you why I have to do it that way. I have 6 cameras. When you're performing, and I don't care what kind of performance you are giving, if you don't capture it properly, then people will never see it. It's the most selfish medium in the world. You're filming what you want people to see, when you want them to see it, how you want them to see it, what juxtaposition you want them to see. Me creating the totality of this whole feeling of what's being presented in your angle and in your shots. Cause I know what I want to see. I know I want to go to the audience. I know what I want to come back. I know the emotion that I felt when I performed it, and I try to recapture that same emotion when I cut and edit and direct.
How long have you been creating all of those elements?
Since I was a little boy with my brothers, my father used to say, show 'em, Michael, show 'em.
Did they ever get jealous of that?
They never showed it at the time, but it must have been hard because I would never get spanked on rehearsals or practice. But afterwards, when I was in trouble, I would. It's true. That's when I would get it. My father rehearsed with a belt in his hand. You couldn't mess up. My father was a genius when it comes to the way he taught us and staging and how to work an audience, anticipating what to do next or never leave the audience to know if you're suffering or if anything's going wrong. He was amazing like that.
Is that where you think you got not just your business sense, but how to control the whole package?
Absolutely. My father, experience. I learned a lot from my father. He had a group when he was a young person called the Falcons. They came over and they played music all the time. So we always had music and dancing. It's that cultural thing that black people do. You clear out all the furniture, turn up the music, the company comes, everybody gets on the middle of the floor. You gotta do something. I love that.
Do your kids do that now?
They do, but they get shy. But they do it for me. Sometimes.
Speaking of showmanship, MTV didn't play black folks. How hard was that for you?
They said they don't play black artists. It broke my heart, but at the same time it did something. I was saying to myself, I have to do something where I just refuse to be ignored. So yeah, Billie Jean, they said, we won't play it. But when they played it, they set the all-time record. Then they were asking for everything we had. They were knocking our door down. Then Prince came. It opened door for Prince and all the other black artists. It was 24-hour heavy metal, just a potpourri of crazy images. They came to me so many times in the past and said, Michael, if it wasn't for you, there would be no MTV. They told me that over and over and over personally. I guess they didn't hear it at the time, but I'm sure they didn't mean any pure malice.
That really gave birth to the modern video age, didn't it?
I used to look at MTV. My brother Jackie, I'll never forget, he'd say, Michael, you gotta see this channel. Oh my god, it's the best idea. They show music 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day. So I said, let me see this. And I'm watching it. I'm seeing all this stuff going on and saying, if only they could give this stuff more entertainment value, more story, a little more dance, I'm sure people will love it more. So I said, when I do something, it's gotta have a story, an opening, a middle, and a closing, so you can follow a linear thread. There's gotta be a thread through it. So while you're watching the entertainment value of it, you wonder what's gonna happen. So that's when I started to experiment with Thriller, the way it made me feel, and Bad, A Smooth Criminal, and directing and writing.
What do you think about the state of music videos and music today?
The industry is at a crossroads. There's a transformation going on. People are confused. What's going to happen? How to distribute and sell music. I think the internet kind of threw everybody for a real loop because it's so powerful. Kids love it so much. The whole world is at their fingertips, on their lap. Anything they want to know, anyone they want to communicate with, the whole world is at their fingertips, right there on their lap. This thing, it just took everybody for a loop. Right now, all these Starbucks deals and Walmart deals, direct to artists, I don't know if that's the answer. I think the answer is just phenomenal, great music. I think people are still searching. There's not a real musical revolution going on right now either. But when it's there, people will break a wall down to get to it. I mean, because before Thriller, it was the same kind of thing. People were not buying music. It helped to bring everybody back into the stores. So when it happens, it happens.
Who impresses you, Michael?
As far as artistry, I think Mia was doing wonderful. He has a very Michael Jackson feel too. But that's what I like about him. I could tell he's a guy who understands writing.
Do you work with these young artists?
Sure. I've always been the type where I don't care if it's the mailman or the guy sweeping the floor. If it's a great song, it's a great song. Some of the most ingenious ideas come from everyday people who just go, why don't you try this or do this? It'll be a wonderful idea, so you should just try it. Chris Brown is wonderful. Akon, he's a wonderful artist. I always want to do music that inspires or influences another generation. You want what you create to live, be it a sculpture or a painting or music. Like Michelangelo said, I know the creator will go, but the work survives. That is why to escape death, I attempt to bind my soul to my work. And that's how I feel. I give my all to my work. I just want it to live.
How does it feel to know that you've changed history? Do you think about that a lot?
Yeah, I do. I really do. I'm very proud that we opened doors, that it helped tear down a lot. Going around the world, doing tours and stadiums, you see the influence of the music. We just look out over the stage. As far as the naked eye could see, you see people. It's a wonderful feeling. But it came with a lot of pain, a lot of pain.
How so, Michael?
When you're on top of your game, when you're a pioneer, people come at you. But I feel grateful. All these record-breaking things, to the biggest albums, to those #1 hits, I still feel grateful. I'm a guy who used to sit in my living room and listen to my father play Ray Charles. My mother used to wake me up at 3 in the morning. Michael, he's on TV, he's on TV. I'd run to the TV and James Brown would be on TV. I said, that's what I want to do.
Can we expect more of Michael Jackson?
I'm writing a lot of stuff right now. I'm in the studio like every day. I think like the rap thing that is happening now, when it first came out, I always felt like it was going to take more of a melodic structure to make it more universal. Because not everybody speaks English. And you are limited to your country, but me have a melody, and everybody can have a melody. That's when it became France, the Middle East, everywhere, all over the world, because they can put their melodic linear thread in there. You have to be able to hum it. From the farmer in Ireland to the lady who scrubs toilets in Harlem, to anybody who can whistle, to a child, bigger child popping her fingers. You have to be able to hum it.
So, you're almost 50 now. Do you think you'll still be doing this at 80?
The truth is, no. Not the way James Brown did or Jackie Wilson did, where they just ran it out. They killed themselves. In my opinion, I wish James could have slowed down more and been more relaxed and enjoyed his hard work.
Will you tour again?
I don't care about long tours. But what I love about touring is that it sharpens one's craft beautifully. That's what I love about Broadway. That's why actors turn to Broadway to sharpen their skills. It does do that, because it takes years to become a great performer. Years. You can't just grab some guy out of obscurity and then just throw him out there and expect for this person to compete with that person. It'll never work. And the audience knows it. They see it. The way they gesture their head, move their body, the way they do anything with the microphone, or the way they bow, they can see it right away. Now Stevie Wonder, he's a musical prophet. Here's another guy I have to credit. I used to say to myself, I want to write more. I used to watch the producers Gamble and Huff and Hal Davis and Corporation write all those hits for the Jackson 5, and I really want to study the anatomy. What they used to do, they used to have us come in and sing it after they did each track. So Stevie used to literally let me sit like a fly on the wall. I got to see songs like The Key of Life get made, some of the most golden themes. I would sit with Marvin Gaye and these would be the people who would just come over to our house and hang out and play basketball with my brothers on the weekend. We always had all these people around. So when you really can see the science, the anatomy, and the structure of how it all works, it's just so wonderful.
So, you play the world on the stage. How do you see the shape of the world today?
I'm very concerned about the plight of the international global warming phenomenon. I knew it was coming, but I wish they could have gotten people's interest a lot sooner. But it's never too late. It's been described as a runaway train. If we don't stop it, we'll never get it back. So we have to fix it now. That's what I was trying to do with Earth Song, Heal the World, We Are the World, writing those songs to open up people's consciousness. I wish people would listen to every word.
What do you think about the next presidential race? Hillary, Barack?
To tell you the truth, I don't follow that stuff. We were raised not to. We don't look to men to fix the problems of the world. We don't. They can't do it. That's how I see it. It's beyond us. Look, we don't have control over the grounds. They shake. We don't have control over the seas. They can have tsunamis. We don't have control over the skies. There are storms. We're all in God's hands. I think their man has to take that into consideration. I just wish they would do more for the babies and children. Help them more. That would be great, wouldn't it?
Speaking of babies, as a father now, rewind back 25 years ago. What is the difference between that Michael and the Michael today?
That Michael is probably the same Michael here. I just wanted to get certain things accomplished first. But I always had this tug in the back of my head, the things I wanted to do, to raise children, to have children. I'm enjoying it very much.
What do you think about all the stuff that's out there about you? All the things you read? How do you feel about that?
Oh, I don't pay attention to that. In my opinion, it's ignorance. It's usually not based on fact. It's based on, myth. The guy who you don't get to see. Every neighborhood has a guy who you don't see. So you gossip about him. You see these stories about him. There's a myth that he did this, he did that. People are crazy. I just want to do some wonderful music. But back to Motown 25, one of the things that touched me the most about doing that was after I did the performance, I'll never forget. There was Marvin Gaye and the Wings, and the Temptations, and Smokey Robinson, and my brothers. They were hugging me and kissing me and holding me. Richard Pryor walked over and said, "Now that was the greatest performance I've ever seen. That was my reward." These were people who, when I was a little boy in Indiana, they used to listen to Marvin Gaye, the Temptations, and to have them bestow that kind of appreciation on me, I was honored. Then the next day, Fred Astaire calls and said, "I watched it last night and I taped it. I watched it again this morning. You're a hell of a mover. You put the audience on that ass last night." So later, when I saw Fred Astaire, he did this thing with his fingers, imitating the moonwalk. I remember doing the performance so clearly, and I remember that I was so upset with myself because it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to be more, but not until I finished. There was this little child, little Jewish child backstage with a little tuxedo on. He looked at me and he said, "Who taught you to move like that?" And I said, "I guess God," in rehearsal.